forgot about Facebook on SceneSat, but I'll try to do that now. Well, we should already be on Twitch and YouTube. Livestream. Okay, now I need the stream key. Copy from here. Put the stream key here. On the right place. I think I'm on the right place. Yeah. Okay, so this should be active. Am I live on SceneSat? Let's check. Inactive.
Oh, we're on SceneSat as well?
Yeah, we're everywhere. No excuse, because some people are like, oh, I wasn't checking Twitch. Oh, I wasn't checking SceneSat. So now we're on all fucking platforms. It's only like if you're offline that you're gonna miss it. Anyway, it seems that people on Twitch are already saying stuff, so it seems that it's working. Just gonna spam this, that we're live. Hopefully not use this tab, otherwise it's gonna look weird. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna set another playlist so we can watch the demos from the start. So these are demos that showed up on the recent months. Start with this one, which is by Altaid and Alcatraz, called Mad Racer, and I think it's an 8K. Could be wrong, but I'm not sure what.
I think it's 8K,
was.
yeah.
Was it a not glitch? I'm not sure.
Yeah, knowledge, I think, yeah.
And you were at Nordlich, right?
No, usually I am. Usually
You already immigrated.
Yeah, I immigrated. Yeah, I moved to Finland about 9 months ago now, I think, or 10 months. Usually I'm like a co-organizer of Nordlist.
Ah, you even were an organizer, okay.
Yeah, I kind of help out.
I have to check if it's really on Nordlich or not.
And this one is using the MAD tracing algorithm.
This was in Decrunch, actually.
Oh, Decrunch, okay.
Yeah, we got first placed. But go on, what were you saying about the tracing?
I'm not completely sure how it works, but I think it's doing like a sort of combined lighting sampling with ray matching stepping, and it's apparently a lot faster than actually tracing multiple bounces of rays. And they're calling it MAD tracing.
MAD tracing. Okay.
It's actually, I think there's some stuff on Jeditoy already about it. Maybe IQ, you've seen it, or I don't know.
No, I haven't. I would remember the name for sure, MAD tracing. Sounds like the thing you want to go to SIGGRAPH with and put it in front of everyone.
Fizzer, can you repeat the technique?
It's MAD tracing, like MAD as in like crazy, MAD.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but how does it work again? How's it different from...
I keep meaning to look it up. Okay. I don't actually know how it works exactly, but I think it's something like, you know, it's less like rays. You don't, like it's in an SDF, you don't have multiple bounces for like path tracing style, but you somehow sample the light while you're tracing the ray matching steps. It's something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
But I'm not totally sure how it works.
Something mad. Okay.
It's magic.
Something mad.
Some kind of nice cheating.
That's the best way to do new demo effects, just cheating. Or new frameworks in this case. Okay.
Yeah, I remember it was a pre-GPU time. There were a lot of these. Was it Nature Sucks? Was that?
Yeah, there was a group called Nature Sucks,
Yeah.
which did some weird ray tracing stuff. And this is from your time, IQ, so you might remember this.
I don't remember.
You don't remember
What's the name
Nature
again?
Sucks? Nature Sucks with 2 X's. Nope.
No.
It was in 90s or beginning of.
2000. Mecha Symposium 2000 and Mecha Symposium 2001. The group was actually Federation Against Nature, but they had one demo called Nature Still Sucks, and another one, so 3 demos. One called Nature Sucks, one called Nature Still Sucks, and another one called Still Sucking Nature. So a whole series of nature sucking things. And the thing was they had realistic graphics in it.
I think the name was a reference that it's so difficult to make realistic ray tracing.
Makes sense.
Especially in the 2000s.
Yeah. Maybe it's a bit easier now. I don't know.
That's a good question. Do you think it's easier to do nature stuff now? Question for all 3 of you.
I mean, it's always easier as the technology, improves. It becomes easier, but I mean, you could do photoreal things if you bake stuff, if you put billboards in the distance.
Yeah, that's
it all
cheating.
depends how much you want to keep alive and real time versus baked. So you can always move the slider and hit photorealism, I guess. But yeah, I mean, even again, if you want to go like fully crazy simulating nature with ray tracing all the single leaves and twigs and pebbles of a landscape, then no.
What was it called? Endless detail or endless? It was like a phrase that everyone was making fun of it. Like a guy said that this had this mind-blowing technique where you could have like endless detail. You could zoom in infinitely and see everything, and it was like magic.
Yeah, well, kind of that's the point, because like you actually don't really need that, and you kind of always have an idea what you're going to have on screen and what you're trying to make, and you can actually always do some kind of optimization for what you're actually trying to make.
Yeah, I think the core of the tech is good because, as you are saying, you have to make the rendering technique output sensitive. So scale, you need it to scale with the amount of pixels, not with the amount of geometry in the scene.
Yeah.
But he was trying to revolutionize the world of gaming with the most ugly graphics you could imagine. So I don't see how he was.
I remember it was somehow voxel based. I don't know. My memory is not very good.
Yeah, it's pretty much like sparse voxel luxury. I think that's it.
Yeah, the challenge there is to make nothing, something properly animated, not only static.
Yeah, for games especially.
Yeah.
They were always talking about games, so.
Yeah, it's the biggest industry nowadays. It's for game stuff. Real time. Anyways, the demo that we're watching now was released at Summer Hack 2019. It's for the Atari Falcon 030. I'm thinking none of you 3 guys had an Atari Falcon. Am I correct?
No.
Nope. Okay.
No.
I've never even seen one.
Never seen an Atari Falcon? It's not like an Amiga. It's slightly different. Anyways, I think we're gonna skip the Atari stuff and I'll play them on another episode, just because we'll have people more inside the platform to give more information. And I'm gonna play this one, which is called Kill the Encoder. It's by Slurpee of Alcatraz. Was released at Nova, I believe.
Oh yeah.
And it's really hard to see on video. You can sort of understand what he's doing. A lot of dots doing stuff. And it's really cool. Especially because Slurpee is relatively new to the demo scene. It's like 2 years since he's been releasing stuff. And he's already doing very quality things. And this was an 8K, I believe. And yeah, it really kills the encoder.
Yeah.
So if you guys are still interested, I actually just looked up the code for the MAD tracer.
Sure. Tell us about it.
It's one ray matching loop which includes bounces, so it just does as many iterations, a certain number of iterations, and it bounces if it encounters a surface, and it does light sampling at each step. So I guess it's faster because it doesn't trace rays towards any light sources, something like that.
Okay.
So it's a simple trick, I guess.
Nice.
So you might also get some kind of volumetric
Yeah, and you can see.
lights.
Yeah, you can see volumetric stuff in the demos actually.
Yeah.
It's fast at least.
Yeah, about the demo that's now running the kill the encoder.
Your
I think it's
particles.
nice, especially in case it's 8K. So
It's
lots
4K
of,
actually. 4K. Just checked it.
4K. Okay.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah, you're a particle specialist, deepr.
Lots of shapes emitting the particles stuff. Yeah. In that intro. Yeah. Yeah, I've been using a lot of particle. I don't know if I'm a specialist, but
How do you do your particles
trying to
actually?
learn more.
Is it compute shaders? Is it CPU or is it on the shaders itself?
yeah, well, first they were just pixel shader simulations. Then now I have moved to geometry shaders, but I'm back in pixel shaders because it's most fast.
Okay.
Just use some modern GPU instructions, the DirectX UAP or OpenGL image load store. Enables to do pretty much all of the same stuff as with compute shaders.
For the simulation of the particles or for the rendering too?
For the simulation of the particles and emitting and collision detection, there's many steps.
Have you started to use compute shaders for rendering them too?
Yeah, I saw your 4K intro.
Oh,
for the
yeah,
assembly.
exactly.
It's all with compute shader, right? With a lot of particles.
Yeah, that's right. And it doesn't have a post process for blur and stuff like that. Actually, everything is just single pixel particles.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You can just distribute them, and it creates a blur effect or a motion blur or a depth of field.
That's cool.
Because you can just do so many with image, atomic add.
Yeah.
How many?
It was about 67 million.
Whoa.
That's a few particles.
I've been trying to make a new faster version with 10 million particles, but of course it depends of the GPU.
Yeah, of course.
Did you, by the way, do some kind of depth sorting for the particles, because that's challenging?
No, I mean it's all additive blending, so
Okay, yeah.
there's no need.
No need. Yeah.
That's why it's fast.
Yeah.
I did do, well, not sorting, but I did like a sort of stochastic depth culling in one of the previous, in the 8K that I did to Evoke last year with the fish. And did you see that one?
Yeah, that one was mostly based on particles as well, wasn't it? We can play it actually. What's the name of it?
From the seas to the stars.
From the seas. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Here we go.
So for the 4K that you released at assembly, are you doing any temporal anti-aliasing afterwards, or just raw particle splatting and that's it?
It's just raw particle splatting.
Nice.
There's technically a path to do color processing, but it's basically running the same compute shader again with a switch to read the sort of the histogram of the particles and do some kind of like color curve on top of that.
Yeah. So a log, I guess.
Yes, log, exactly.
So you were saying about this one, Fizzer?
Yeah, this is actually pretty much the same idea, but instead of using additive, it's using interlocked max or min to do like a depth buffer. But it's also multiple samples per pixel, and I'm doing like a sort of blending by basically doing alpha to coverage of the multiple samples. Yeah. So randomly choosing a sample to splat the particle onto.
How many particles you have here?
I don't remember. I think
Too
it's
many to remember.
I think it's the same number actually. I think, yeah.
This is also an encoder killer.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a funny thing at Assembly this year. The winner demo was bigger than the short video entry because he had so many assets in the high resolution and stuff like that it was like 1.5 gigs a demo. Yeah.
The second, the demo, Pyrotech demo.
Yeah, Pyrotech demo. Yeah, the first one was yours, and it was nowhere near that much.
Does anyone know what was taking up the space? It was Unreal, right? They switched to Unreal.
I think it was Unreal. I think it was mostly 3D assets, but I didn't really check, so I can't really say.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a nice intro. Did you say, Fitzer, that
Thanks.
this is 8K?
This is 8K, yeah.
Yeah.
It was gonna be 4K, but I had too many ideas and too much stuff I wanted to do.
Music perfectly fits also to the visual content.
The music is awesome.
Yeah.
Nobi did the music.
I don't know where. I have been somewhere because I have been missing this.
A lot of new entries coming up on the demo scene. It's really hard to keep up with everything, but that's why we have this show, so you can see the highlights, not miss anything.
Fitzer, can you still detail the depth sorting, or how you manage so many particles to be sorted?
Have you heard of alpha to coverage?
Yeah.
It's well, basically that, but implemented manually in a computer. So there are, I think it was 8 samples per pixel, and each sample is a depth value. Well, it's like a trick because it's a depth value compared with a color value. But essentially it's like a depth test, but it's a separate depth test for each sample, and the sample is chosen using a random number. So you have like a sort of, and then at the end you blend the samples together.
Yeah.
So it's like a stochastic sorting kind of.
Yeah, it's either transparency. So the way I see it is that the way I'm using those techniques as well, and the way I like to think about it is that if you have a fragment that needs to be 50% transparent, then what you do is, if the sample is, the polygon is covering completely a pixel, you don't, normally the GPU would colorize the 8 samples in the pixel fully. But because you want the triangle to be 50% transparent, you artificially disable 4 of the samples, so that the other 4 samples can still capture colors from behind. And then when you resolve the color of the pixel, because 4 of the samples were coming from that triangle, then you get the triangle being 50% transparent.
Exactly.
So, and you can get 50% transparency, 25%, 12.5, and the 9 multiples of 8 from 0 to 1. Yeah. And then you can dither it to get in between transparencies.
Yeah, so usually the samples have, in like hardware rasterization, the samples have positions on the screen. So the sample is really the coverage of the triangle inside the pixel. But what I was doing was just kind of like randomly choosing one. So it's just blending the samples inside the pixel together.
So effectively, the rendering order doesn't matter in the end.
No, it's not sorting really.
Yeah.
It's kind of order independent transparency.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
This is the 4K that you made for assembly, right? So,
yes, that's right.
Yeah, I decided to play it since you guys were talking about it anyways. So we get to see it already.
I'm actually trying to find the source code to the 8K to try to figure out how many
pixels
points it was.
How many particles? Yeah.
Too many to remember.
Can't remember what the folder was called.
Anyway, it's 7:30, so I guess I'll take this opportunity to welcome everyone to another Mystery Demoscene Theater 9000. Today with us, you have, as you can already see, Fizzer, IQ, and deepr.
Hi.
So welcome everyone. Hope you guys are having a good day. The plan for today is we're gonna check some stuff from IQ, from his old dirty past, the stuff he never wanted you guys to see or remember anymore, and then some stuff that he does want you guys to see and remember. And then we're gonna jump to deepr, go over some of his earlier demos and how he ended up winning Assembly this year. And then we will go over the Assembly demos or most of the compo stuff from Assembly from this year. The entry we just saw was actually the winner 4K entry made by Fizzer here in collaboration with Nobi.
We didn't win actually. It came second.
You got second place. That's
Yeah.
prime. What was the entry that won?
It was I don't remember who made it because I actually didn't recognize them, but it was
unknown artists.
Oh yeah,
yes,
oh yeah. That was quite good.
That's why you don't know.
That's why I don't know. Yeah, they're unknown.
They're unknown. We can play that now as well because it was really good, and we can
it was good.
get
It was
the 4K
a
out
tough
of the way.
competition. It was very difficult to say who should win, but
And this
Yeah,
is
it's a
also
very nice cloud effect. It's cool.
yeah. And the winner 1K also had some clouds-looking stuff.
Oh, I remember it. Yeah.
I think in the beginning it was a bit generic cloud ray marching stuff.
I think that was the idea to fool you.
Yeah.
So for people who know nothing of shaders like I do, what's the trick behind this? How do you create this? What's the technical achievement here besides being fucking beautiful?
Well, I think at first I thought it was just an SDF ray launcher, because I've seen stuff like this on Shader Toy, but the guys when they collected their trophies I think they said that they were using 3 compute shaders. So I think what it might be is that there's one compute shader to fill a 3D texture with an SDF, another one to do the lighting, there's like some kind of light propagation, and then a third one to do the ray launching. Something like that maybe. But what's cool about it, so it has like this plane and later there comes a train as well. What I think is cool is that the noise in the cloud kind of makes it more detailed than it really is, and it kind of pulled me into thinking there was more details in the models.
Yeah, your imagination fills out that it looks more complex than the real shape is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the pacing is pretty well done here, that it begins with this very relaxed, slow thing, and then this train comes. At least it worked on the big screen well, which is important at any demo party probably.
Yeah, it was a really good.
Yeah.
Impact.
The music is nothing special.
But
It works with the 4K, but with this steam train, and like it's a steam train, that probably made it.
Yeah, because it's even releasing Steam, so it's like it's already made of clouds.
Yeah. The flow of the intro is also very nice. It's no cuts. I like it because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Really good intro. So this was the 2 top spots on the 4K at Assembly this year. IQ, you've been a bit out of the thing. What do you think of the quality of them?
Pretty cool. Like, I mean, like, both of them at least are trying to do different things, right? It's not just your vanilla pre-marching stuff. One of them is using the cloudy thing, and the other one is point splatting. I think it's pretty cool. I almost wish the first one, the cloud one, was a 64K or something else, so they could put more stuff and better music. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I haven't been following Demoscene that much, but I always check the 4K at least, 4K intros.
It's more your field. Like you sort of seem to be. I mean, you also did 64K stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I have ideas of my own to do things, but I mean, it's time and all that.
yeah. Okay, so let's start with your old stuff, like stuff like this, which you probably wish no one would see again. This was it's named Weak Troll, as I was about to say. It's by a group called Genesis. Not the piracy crack troll group, but some other group from Spain. Tell us a little bit about it, like you.
Yeah, this was when I was on my own, basically, before I joined RGBA, which is where I did most of my 64Ks and demos and stuff. And I made it in a week, and it was my experiment on, as you can see, depth buffer-based rasterization without floating, without subpixel precision or anything. No perspective correction. That's why there are no textures, and it's really ugly.
No, it's beautiful.
What year was this?
I got Objects of Revolution, which was a big thing for me at the time, like making just a 2D profile and then revolving it and creating polygons as you do it. And I made the music myself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
you still like doing music. I remember watching some stuff on your YouTube channel where you actually had like showing how to program music.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you ever like try to make like a synth or stuff like that?
Actually, no. I did start in the demo scene as I wanted to start as a musician, but quickly enough I realized I was really bad. So I think, yeah, I'm not good at many things, even visuals, but I know when something is bad and ugly. And luckily for me, I realized music wasn't my thing, so I switched to graphics. This was my second intro. So this was a 64K thing. I made another one for Euskal Party 5 in '98. And that one didn't have music and it had just a bunch of fractals. But it did crash in front of 3,000 people in the big screen.
It's always a great feeling to have.
That was my first Demoscene experiment.
Cool.
This is also by Genesis.
It was a nice. Was it a particle effect or some feedback effect in the end of the first one? In the peak? Yeah. Sorry, I asked two questions.
This one, rare. This was third 64K intro. This one won the Euskal Party. And
is it also music by you?
Huh?
Is it also music made by you?
No. So coders were Marcy, I don't know how you would pronounce it in English. He was a colleague of mine from university, and he was really good programmer. So he made the 3D engine. He made the polygon filler, the rasterizer, and all those things. And I was the one who created the content with Objects of Revolution and texture, generating textures with noise and making putting the intro together basically. And Nork, who was an Amiga demo scener, he made the music for us.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very proud of this at the time.
This was like 98, 99?
99 maybe, or 98. I think it's 98. 99.
What was your idea of making a landscape that looks like you took acid? Like you needed coded colors in it?
This was me lacking any sense of style or design or anything.
Using all the colors is
exactly.
It means that you have an excellent sense of design.
Well,
if you can't
we call it the Dutch color scheme when you choose all the colors.
But that's a good point. We just transitioned from 13H graphics mode, which was 320 by 200 to 56 colors, and suddenly we had 16-bit to make colors, and I was like, wow, let's use all the colors we have. Yeah. But this engine had depth buffer and subpixel and quite a few things, which was pretty impressive at the time. And by the way,
what was the computer?
It was a
roughly
486, or maybe a Pentium 1. It's 133 megahertz.
Yeah. Okay.
How did you like eventually learn to pick the right color? Was it just like you were like just looking at a lot of stuff that looked nice, or did you read about it, or how did you like figure out?
No, just paying attention to movies and films, I think. Yeah. Especially, I liked a lot of the Harry Potter movies, and those ones have very heavy color grading.
Yeah.
Like, what is this color grading thing about? Why do they choose all these mute colors? And yeah.
Cool.
It relates
then-
directly to emotions
ahead.
as well, so it helps set up like climate change and things like that. Climate change as in the feeling of the stuff, not the icicles melting. Anyways, this entry was Paradise. You had made like a pre-intro to this called Paradise is Coming, but this one was really like a big project, right? It took you a lot of years to finish this one.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know how long it was. Maybe a year or half a year. I don't know. It was a long time. And yeah, that was my first attempt to a mega demo or mega intro, I guess. With lots of content. There is actually, it's longer than it should. Yeah, it's like 7 minutes or 8 minutes from what I see. And there's not enough content to fill those 8 minutes. But I was proud of all these, procedural meshes. Some of them are procedural, some of them are compressed. And then
I remember you gave a talk at some point on how to compress meshes for 64Ks, like to take advantage of symmetry and point to difference instead of having the absolute values and stuff like that with some tricks.
Yeah, that's right.
Is this the one that uses Catmull-Clark subdivision?
Yeah. Yeah, these meshes are super low poly. And then, yeah, as PS is saying, like this whale is clearly symmetric, right? So I would encode, create the symmetric side and the other symmetric side, and then stitch the vertices together to avoid seams in the lighting. And then subdivide it, and then apply procedural displacement. And sometimes a bit of sculpting in the meshes is done procedurally, like some pulling vertices farther from the mesh or things like that.
So it's multi-layered, really. There are multiple layers of like data and code shaded coming together.
That's right.
And you did everything of this by code. You didn't do like a tool to do like the procedural modeling of the stuff.
Yeah, no tools. I mean, the modeling, those meshes which are partially modeled were modeled in Maya. But then I would just convert the vertices to, C++ arrays of data, and from there on, just code. Yeah, no tools for shading or texture generation or editing or nothing. And yeah, this was my first step into creating something with mathematics, which is what I do these days. So this was a hybrid, meshes and math. The music was made by Conspiracy, and we were using their sound engine, which was very good.
Cool.
Yeah. So this was, I think, my first intro with shaders. I don't remember if it was GLSL or ARB shaders. I think it was ARB shaders before GLSL. So it's full of, mul, multiply, and add, and exp instructions and things like that.
Yeah, maybe it was the pixel shader assembly or fragment shader assembly.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Fragment shader assembly.
Yeah.
But it's, I think it has a huge amount of content. It would still plays well 15 years later. It's crazy.
Look at this guy. This deer. Yeah, I don't know if he will do well in a competition these days.
Just when you think that it's a bit static, it starts to walk. So,
there we go.
so
this was me, selecting vertices in the mesh at code at runtime with a sphere and then moving them with an exponential and things like that. So.
Yeah, I'm sure deers don't really naturally move like that, but it fakes really well. It doesn't look like robotic or that much robotic.
yeah, I think you are still doing those animations and improved a bit.
Yeah. So I was thinking that as I think of this demo now, this intro, like everything I did, like, there are subdivision meshes and some ambient occlusion and some procedural animation. These are all the things I still do today. I haven't improved much on the tech. I just have improved my, that eye to see bad things and don't do them. I didn't have it here yet. So many of the things here look ugly, and if I was redoing this today, I wouldn't do them. But tech-wise, I haven't improved much since then. I think pretty much the same.
I mean, I see some procedural graphics stuff that you did after this, and they look a lot more advanced, at least in the rendering sense.
Yeah, but that's the eye getting better, not my code.
Okay.
Talking about the procedural graphics, 4K is the first ones were CPU based. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Interesting. Yeah.
Especially because there were already 4Ks in the MS-DOS era, and back then we didn't have any shader stuff at all, so all of it was CPU, and you had to do all the geometry and that kind of stuff. That's why they sort of sucked a lot more than nowadays.
Yeah. But you are talking of procedural graphics, right, Fizzer?
Say that again.
You were talking of procedural graphics, I think?
Oh yeah, I mean the static 4Ks
Yeah.
on Windows that are, like they run on, they're from like 2006 or something.
Yeah, those were CPU.
I wonder if I remember correctly, was it so that you wrote about this intro that it has ambient occlusion, which is done from vertex to another?
Yeah. Yeah, I used all those sort of tricks for ambient occlusion, which were inspired by Alex Evans. Some of his work in 2006. Yeah. Yeah, this is the last scene in the intro. And it was
nice.
finished at the party. Well, it was made at the party, at the Oscar party the day before. And that tail, for example, in the horse is not part of the model. That's a billboard. And I had to draw the shape of the tail, with a smooth tape or something quickly. That's how I learned shading.
You can tell, so
Yeah.
it works, ship it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like you could use all of the features. I mean, all the the rendering techniques in the demo and make something that looks terrible. So it's really it's really
whatever it takes. Yeah. And in 64K, you have so much space. You can really do. I mean, in 4K, you pick one technique, one trick, one thing, and you do everything based on that. But in 64K, it's infinite space, so you can mix techniques and explore things.
I haven't tried making a 64K yet, but even with 8K, doubling the size is way more than doubling the amount of stuff you can do.
Absolutely, it's not linear. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
because you can implement more complex things that are more expressive. So the amount of content grows, bigger than linearly with the amount of bytes you have.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is my first remarching 4K intro. It's just some Julia sets. There was a paper in 2005 by, what was his name? Keenan Crane. I think he was a professor from some university in the US. He was talking about how to compute distance fields for 4D Julia sets and Mandelbrot sets. So I pretty much stole his formula for the distance field itself. And years later, I learned how to derive it myself. And at this point, I can do variations and create my own distance fields for different formulas. But at the time, I just copy-pasted his formula.
IQ, you've been known for having a very large library of SDF formulas for the different shapes and that kind of stuff. How did you amass it? Did you derive all of them? Did you steal it from papers that were mostly just
that's
made
my
a
game.
database?
I derived them. I was making a new one last night. I don't know if you can see that. There is stuff going on there. So that's my little hobby to create those things, those formulas.
That's more like mathematician kind of stuff, not really electronics engineer. So how did you get so nerd into mathematics stuff?
Well, there's a lot of maths in electrical engineering.
Yeah, okay. But I mean...
Yeah, well, okay, I see. I don't know, I love it. I wanted to be a mathematician, but my parents didn't let me, I guess. So then I thought I took my revenge, and I never worked as an electrical engineer, and now I just do maths and graphics. It's fun, especially when you discover something new. I mean, you're not going to discover anything big, new, but little things, and if no one has been there before you and you are the first one touching those little areas in the huge mathematical universe, just the sense of being the first is amazing.
Yes.
So like I do it for that. Just being an explorer, you know. And
I mean, I would assume that there's so many mathematicians in the world that they would have tried to solve all the known problems that exist that involve mathematics somehow, but clearly, no.
It's so easy to find new stuff. It's pretty easy. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I wonder if some of the stuff that we come up with has been found before, but we just don't know. And
Often not. Especially people like you in the demo scene, and you discover new things, and sometimes you find them published in SIGGRAPH or Eurographics or HPC, and you're like, fuckers! And then 5 years ago, it wasn't worth a paper, it wasn't worth a name and a few statistics, but there you go, someone is. So yeah, I'm sure you have invented things, you just don't know it.
Yeah, you have to publish them as well, share the knowledge.
Yeah, sharing it for sure. Publish it, yes. Doesn't need to be a paper.
Yeah. We don't patent it.
Exactly, there we go. Don't patent it. Yeah.
So, if I go a bit back to the Kinderneuser, in case I remember correctly, I think it was the first first ever Demoscene production that properly was drawing 3D fractals.
Maybe.
It was also happening at the same time when ray marching was starting to become popular. Yeah.
I saw ray marching about 6 months before in Loonies, I want to say, made it.
Yeah, I should know this because I made like a historic of 4Ks and 1Ks, so I should know this. And TBC and Loonies were the first guys to do ray marching stuff, and then you did the series of Kinderneuser and Kinder whatever it was called that also used ray marching, and soon after that you ended up doing a shader toy to test with that kind of stuff as well.
But I do think the Loonies ray marcher was fixed step ray marching. It wasn't distance field based.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So maybe mines were the first to use SDFs, perhaps, maybe not. Yeah.
It's homework for you guys to check at home.
At least the ambient occlusion was so nice in Kinderneuser. That's specifically what probably influenced a lot of Demoscene productions. So.
Mm-hmm. And I remember watching some tricks videos of you explaining IQ that how you could get ambient occlusion in screen space instead of having to calculate Z buffers and that kind of stuff and bounces. So so that was interesting. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that period, or shall we talk about this that is playing now?
It's all connected. This is a ray marcher as well. This is
one
shader
you did like 2 years ago?
Yeah, about so. Yeah, so in the last 3 years, I haven't done much because life, work, and baby and stuff. But I did allocate 3 days, I think, or a couple of days to do this one in a small bits of time, of course, not fully dedicated to it. But yeah, this is a ray marcher. Nothing special. The code is there. Because it's very noisy though, and there is all those. So first of all, those trees are not real trees, of course. They are just spheres with a bit of noise into them. But the image becomes very noisy quickly, or very aliasy, I guess. The details are too small to be captured by the pixels, so it has some temporal anti-aliasing in it, and very cheap one. It's not very smart. It creates a lot of ghosting, but there it is. Oh, this one has some interesting techniques actually. So in that spirit of being a mathematician, I did derive analytic derivatives for noise and for smooth step, and by using the chain rule and a few other techniques, I was able to compute normals without having to evaluate the distance field many times, which is what you normally do to get normals. And because of that, I could get derivatives as I was ray marching, and I would use them to speed up or slow down the ray marcher, such that in very steep areas, like in the cliffs in the back, I would ray march slower to prevent crossing the wall too quickly, because it's so vertical that it's very easy for the ray just to go through it. So there is a few techniques like that in this one, which I haven't published yet in my to-do list.
Maybe a little bit one more time to get you all the tech out of you that we can.
But it's so elevated right before this one, which is the Breakpoint 2009 winner 4K intro, people were telling me, oh, that one was, they were asking if it was ray-marched, because since then everything I have done was pretty much ray-marched, just because it's convenient to do things ray-marching. With ray-marching, you don't have to set up an engine and polygons, and you just code it directly. So they assumed that Elevated was ray-marched, but it isn't. It's just made of polygons. So it's an infinite plane with polygons, and well, it's not infinite, of course, but it's limited, but it moves with you. So it's a grid that is like, I don't know, a kilometer long, and then it moves as the camera moves. So effectively, you can travel anywhere in space. Then the texturing and shading was procedural, or was like screen space. So it was kind of deferred, not only deferred lighting like games do, but deferred texturing as well. And it was procedurally done.
How did you do the texture details? Was it just like a procedural texture generation where you did some noise and...
Yes, but there are no textures, which is, I mean, every pixel just gets shaded fully procedurally without fetching from any texture mode. That's why you can get a lot of resolution and you don't get any, texels. But at the same time, the problem with that technique is that because there are no texels, you cannot pre-filter and map it, and then you get a lot of aliasing everywhere. Which is most noticeable when you're looking at distant parts of the landscape. Everything aliases a lot. Maybe not in the video because of the compression and all that, but...
I don't notice any aliasing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah.
It just looks great to me.
Yeah, I cannot not see.
It's the problem of the creator. Like, he always sees the flaws. It doesn't look like it seems magic to everyone else. To you, it just looks, there's an error there that you can't really see.
No, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't playing that game. Like, at the time, actually, I was super proud of it. I remember the week before releasing it at Breakpoint, I had it finished. It was the first time I didn't do party coding. I had been working super hard with Mentor and Purix from TBC, and it was done a week before. And then I was living in Belgium at the time, and I had a living room with no furniture at all. And I had just a sofa in the middle of the living room and a big projector.
Just sit there looking at your entry.
It was my private theater, and I was so proud, and I would watch it every day for a week. So yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, it's still it's the most famous 4K still nowadays. I think. I mean, there was some really good stuff coming out recently with Nobi and this guy Fizzer here. They've been doing some really kick-ass stuff on the 4K again, in the 4K category, but this is still the biggest reference for everyone. Whenever you talk 4K on the Demoscene, you mention Elevated.
Good, nice. I'm proud of it.
Going back to the...
And it's 10-year birthday of Elevated.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
that's
right.
It happened.
10 years.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was gonna say something about points again.
Go on.
It's interesting that this is polygons, and you don't really see that many 4K intros of polygons today. It's usually ray marching, but I said before that I could have like 67 million points. That's way more than the number of pixels in a 1080p screen, and you can use the depth buffer type of splatting to do solid surfaces. Pretty much, you could maybe do something like this as well using the points, and it's pretty cheap because you don't have to set up the index and vertex buffer for the infinite grid that you were talking about. Okay. So yeah, that's something someone could try.
Yeah, on the 10 years, do like a remake.
Yeah, the issue with that is you have like 2 million pixels in the screen in HD, and 64 or 67 million points to splat into them. But ideally, you have a budget of like 3 points per pixel. But how to distribute them so that's true is difficult. Because you normally distribute them in model space by procedurally placing them, and then they get projected. So yeah, I don't know. But have you tried it? Have you tried to do something that resembles solid modeling?
I have actually, yeah. I have something like a landscape already once.
Cool.
I could do it by actually starting at the screen. It's like the Crytek ocean surface trick.
Oh, you go backwards.
Yeah, you go backwards. And it's not ray marching because you start from the screen and you project onto a plane, which is kind of the base plane of the terrain, and then just move the point upwards in the y-axis.
Nice, smart, nice.
And what I did get some gaps, but what I found that I could do, because the gaps are actually usually like 1 or 2 pixels in the setup that I had, so I just filled in the gaps in the post process.
Nice.
By taking the nearest non-empty pixel. That worked pretty well.
That's cool. You can do a lot of tricks with that, because also the other problem with polygons and landscapes is that the easiest thing to do is 2.5D height maps. But with points, you can probably do concave geometry and caves and things like that, maybe.
Yep. Like overhangs and stuff. And you can do like, you can do actual bump for detail as well, because you can do like microscopic displacement.
Nice.
Like per point displacement. So with 1 evaluation per point.
Okay, so this was another of your experiments that you did a couple years ago, part of your series of videos that you did called Formula Animations on your YouTube channel. And whoever doesn't follow you on YouTube, I highly recommend that you do so. Can you tell us a little about it?
This is one of my impro jam sessions. I think it was 45 minutes or so. Sometimes I do those because I don't have, again, time to spend a lot of time on one particular piece. So it was a quick one. It was inspired actually by a piece, a shader toy work by Clems. I think it was Clem. He made kind of a broccoli. Sorry?
I think it was Clem's, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, he made a green broccoli, which was kind of a fractal, right? Like you have a shape which has mini shapes, which had mini shapes inside of them. So I used this I was inspired by him basically, and started making shape of shapes, and that became those little trees. And I don't know, there wasn't any planning behind this. So I guess making a little planet with trees is something we have seen so many times out there that it inspired me to do it again. And then what I like about these experiments is that they go without any direction really. And then when something starts emerging that I like, if I don't like it, I just drop it and I don't publish it. But if something starts being made that I like, then I work on the lighting and the colors, and I enjoy that part the most. Lighting. It takes me forever to do lighting, like picking the ratio between the key light and the fill light and the colors and how much backlighting I put and Fresnel and where the occlusion goes, where it doesn't. It takes me forever, but I enjoy it a lot. And this is an exercise on trying to pick pretty colors and lighting.
I really like how the light is coming behind, like it's kind of got this scattering look.
Yes, yeah, there's a bit of warping in the dot product to make it feel like it comes from behind.
Yeah, like rim lighting. Yeah.
People on the chat are asking if the intro you were talking about, the green broccoli, was it Romanesco by Helmut? I don't think it was. I think Romanesco was released in 2016, and the one that you're talking about was probably before that.
It's on Shader Toy, not an intro, I think, right?
Yeah, it's a Shader Toy, yeah.
Yeah, but Romanesco was also on Shader Toy, I believe.
Okay.
Because I remember seeing it there. Yeah, there's even a link called Shader Toy version where you can move your mouse to have different versions. But yeah, I mean, broccoli, green? It's fractals. They all look pretty much like broccoli. So, yeah. Anyways, most recently you made this thing, like a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Which is really fucking good. You're gonna do a live stream deconstructing this shader, right? 1 week from now, is this correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the construction, I guess, next week, Wednesday, this time actually. So
okay.
Yeah, this is a again another jam session. It happened very quickly. Someone was asking on Twitter how come it only took me a few hours. It was 10 hours, I think, and I was telling him that this one took 10, but then it's because I practice almost every day.
Yeah,
I got lucky. This one, sometimes many of the experiments go nowhere or I get blocked, and I have like 20 or 30 shaders which took me days and still don't look good. So this one I got lucky. And what I like is that this dude, he looks alive to me. It's the first time I get anything that feels alive. And I'm very happy I hit that sweet spot, luckily. And yeah. So
I've seen a version of this where the guy flips while he's bouncing. Have you seen that? I saw that version on Twitter. It was also hilarious.
Yeah. Yes, I saw that too.
So I was talking to you earlier, IQ. Shader Showdowns, man. You need to participate on those damn Shader Showdowns because it's completely you. And since since the conception of Shader Showdown, of coding a shader in 25 minutes, I've always been thinking IQ of RGBA would kick everybody's ass in this, because he knows all those formulas by heart. He knows how to figure out those tricks and stuff like that. I think it's totally you. And I see you doing live coding stuff as well. Even you did some live coding visuals for a concert as well at some point, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I have to go to a party, I guess. But yeah.
There are a couple of. We were saying that you were saying that your main problem was that you lived in the US. There aren't that many parties in the US, and I was listing you the parties that exist. I'm going to repeat just for the sake of our viewers. There is Demo Splash, there is At Party, and there is NYC Synchrony, I think, or Synchronicity. I always get the name wrong, but it's one that happens in New York. That goes from New York to Montreal, I believe, by train, which is an interesting concept.
It is Synchrony, yeah. It's Synchrony, not Synchronicity.
Yeah, okay, Synchrony.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But there is also family and work, so there are many.
Everybody has family, man. That's no excuse.
Okay.
There are.
The actual reason is going to a party without a production is it's not the same. I mean, still enjoy it, of course, but last few times I did it, I didn't feel so well. So
yeah,
I should make an intro or something, or a demo or something, and go.
I'm sure you can also party code something. I mean, if you do this in 45 minutes,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure you can do something decent.
Well, it was 10 hours, but yes. Yeah. So actually, I was gonna say quickly before we end with the IQ side of things here, that this guy. So this started as an exercise on. There is this thing called the 12 Principles of Animation. That a couple of Disney animators wrote a few years ago, and it's the kind of the book all the animators in the world read first. It's the 101 animation, and they explain the 12. I mean, in reality, it's only 8 of them, but there are 12 in the book. And I haven't read it, but if you go to Google and you do 12 Principles of Animation, you find it in the Wikipedia and you read them, and they all make sense, of course, but I never was super aware of applying them, and I studied.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to sidetrack.
Yeah. Sorry?
Sometimes it's easy to sidetrack and ignore like the obvious things. And if you have like a guide, it helps you keep them in your mind when you're doing things.
Yeah. So yeah, I went through it exactly like I read it and I said, okay, let's make an animation that doesn't ignore these things, and I applied with a bouncing ball that squashes and stretches and whatever. And a few secondary motions, which is one of the principles as well, to add secondary motions. For example, the ears. When the guy goes down, the ears are up. They are lagging behind a bit kind of the inertia. And so I just applied those things, and indeed, the thing came very alive and pretty comical. So yeah, that was the exercise.
Is one of the rules the stretch and squash thing? Where you
exactly.
Volume,
volume preservation and inertia. Yeah, rule number 1. But there is a few of anticipation, like if a character is going to look there because someone is there, the first thing they do is look a bit, move the eyes first, or before speaking, they move the head. The other one is secondary motions, like for example, in this case, the ears are behind, but then also secondary animation, which is besides the thing that is getting your attention, which is the guy bouncing around in this case, there is also the floor reacting to it and doing a second motion. So that's the secondary motion that you always have to add as well. And there are a few things like that. It was a pretty not mechanical, but I was going through the list and making sure I was hitting a bit of some of those points, and it did work. It helped a lot.
Cool.
All right. Okay, so moving on. Go on, deepr.
I can just say that it's a crazy achievement to put all of these. I suspect this is still in one shader.
It is one shader, one path, no multipath, no textures. It's about 3 kilobytes, I think.
So yeah, you have 1 kilobyte for music, which is doable with forklang, so you can totally do a 4K out of this.
Well, music and window initialization, 800 bytes, and sequencing, another 100. I don't know, but
you probably didn't size optimize it yet, because at least for me, for the couple of shader-based 4Ks that I have done, it takes quite a lot of time to optimize.
That's right.
the shader code, but in the end you get like 500 bytes out of it.
Yeah, that's right. The thing is, from those, let's say 3 kilobytes or whatever, or 2 kilobytes after optimization, about half of it is generic code. You know, like half of it is for the actual modeling and lighting of the scene. The other half is generic rematching routines or normal computation or things like that, which could be reused across many scenes. So as we were talking before with Fizzer, like this could be a 4. Well, I don't know if it could be a 4K, maybe a 6K, but just by adding, making it 8K, then you could add another 20 scenes like this and tell another story, perhaps.
There is an 8K competition net revision now, so just saying.
How's that going? Actually, by the way, there wasn't 8K demos when I stopped doing demos in 2009. So
it's rather recent. I think it has like 4 years that the 8K category showed up, so it's rather recent.
And they are more popular than the 4K?
Not really. I think 4K is still more, but you can see there are a lot of people that struggle to put stuff on 4K because they have more ideas than fits, and then they always shift it to the 8K, and you have a solid production instead of a hacky one that was botched because it had to fit the 4K. So in that sense, it saves the essence of the production, but mostly I still think that the 4K category is a lot stronger than the 8K. That's my personal opinion. I don't know, Fizzer, do you agree? You're expert in that.
I think it is. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I think you're right. I think 8K is kind of underexplored, actually. I know, like...
You haven't really seen any 8K intro that really pushes the limit of what, like, mind-blowing everyone. It always feels like it's 4K with some little extra content. It doesn't feel like it's fully explored.
I think Blueberry and Mentor, they have done quite good job during the last 2 revisions to
with Looney's.
Yeah, make some kind of story. There was the cross country, the downhill skiing.
Yeah. I know what it is. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, and then the spooky intro this year.
I didn't really like that one, but I think it was more of a personal feeling kind of thing. I don't know, it just wasn't working for me. But it had a lot of assets, and it tells a story, which is what's usually really hard on the 4K, is that having that extra space to tell a narrative with it. Sometimes you don't have that space.
I think like the skiing one that you mentioned, I've had some kind of nice optimizations for the ray matching. They sort of did a coarse ray match at a lower resolution and used that as a starting point for the higher resolution on a per tile basis.
Yeah,
I'm going to play it since we're talking about it.
And I think Blueberry was mentioning to me that he developed the intro on shader toy or some. So IQ's influence is still, even though you stop releasing products.
And like the initial scene looks like elevated, so
I think a lot of people thought this was going to be some kind of elevated remake. From the first few seconds at the party, but then this started and
you can see the ski marks on the floor. That's a really nice touch.
The tracks here are really good. I really like them.
So this is still probably the best 8K we have so far. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting something that was released last year. But for me, when we speak 8K, I remember this. And I also remember the 8K remake of Second Reality that Fulcrum did. But it still felt like it was hacked in a lot of places to fit the size.
This is pretty good. It's very fun. Oh, I'm getting dizzy though.
And you can do some tricks, get outside of course. Insane trickery.
Everybody loved that at the party. It was really
it really worked at the party place.
Yeah.
Those trees miss a bit of shadows there. Yeah.
Helicopter.
Oh, helicopter! Wow, nice. I saw it, but I didn't remember the helicopter. Nice.
Anyways, let's move on because we still have a lot of demos to show. Let's move on to the deepers part of this show. We're gonna start with something by Promil Design called the Ruoste. Am I correct in the pronunciation, Deeper?
Yeah, Ruoste. It's like Rust.
Wow. Okay. So what can you tell us about the intro and how did you end up doing stuff for the demo scene?
Yeah, this intro is made with Java as a Java applet in 2003, together with Rock, who by the way was the main effect coder in this year's Pyrotech demo at Assembly.
Okay.
So we had and maybe still have. We haven't been actively releasing anything since 2005. I will tell you later why. Well, you know, Adapt was founded in 2006, so I've been rather busy with that group since then. But I actually started programming. I will start from that in year 92. I think when I got my first computer. So after in 92 I started programming. Then I started to have some interest towards the demo scene. My friend was telling after summer of 93 that there was this crazy event
called Assembly
in a school where people are coding all the night and releasing demos. I was like, what is a demo? And that was the Assembly 93. There was a big hype of Future Group, for example.
Second Reality was released then.
Yeah, winning with Second Reality. Then we got our tickets to Assembly 94. We went there, and that's where every year since that I've been to Assembly.
Wow.
Then towards the end of the 90s, I was starting to gain some knowledge about programming and graphics programming, and I tried to make some demos. Actually, a 64K to Assembly 99. I was actually sitting next to Kueller's guys, making Viagra.
Yeah, I remember Viagra.
I was like, okay, someday I might be able to do something like that, but not maybe yet. But there was something wrong. I made my own Impulse Tracker music player, at least for the 99 64K. Okay. And this actually has the same player, but converted to Java.
And this is a ray tracer, and I see you are doing interpolation, right? You are ray tracing every 8x8 pixels or something.
Yeah, Ruoste was a ray tracer. The biggest challenge with Java was actually to get the back buffer presented quickly, because I think with the non-optimal way 640 size window was something like 30 frames per second. Only splitting the back buffer to the screen.
It's Java, man. It's not made for graphics.
I think it's amazing for something made in Java. Not to say Java is terrible, but
it is terrible.
Yeah, but there are actually in the Ruoste there was also it was Rock's idea to make the ray tracing. I added actually soft shadows. And later it was curious to find out that IQ has been writing about the same topic later of the how do you put soft shadows that when the ray goes near the edge, the closer you are on the edge, the softer the shadow is. It was nice to do that kind of fake soft shadows, but the difficult part was how to combine the shadows on the multiple shadow casters borders. So here, what's now going on is I think this is the second Adapt demo.
I think so. This one was released in 2006.
Yeah,
it's called Balance.
Yeah.
It's like a screen space refraction effect. It's like distorting the frame buffer. Is it?
There's some. This is still done without any shaders. It's just lots of polygons, some CPU modifying of the stuff. Let me just a moment. Yeah, it was released at the stream. It was my first demo. I think it was my first demo party. At least almost. Yeah, it was my first demo party other than Assembly.
It's amazing,
Yeah,
like
so-
the legacy that Assembly has on the Finnish demo scene.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of people started doing demo stuff because of Assembly.
Yeah.
It's really
I
amazing.
think it was such that we went there with Base Cadet into this stream demo party, and it might have something to do with Preacher also telling that you should definitely go to see some other parties as well.
Yeah, because Assembly is quite different from the other Finnish parties. The other Finnish parties all feel like very more home environment, like very more together. I'm
Yeah.
missing the proper word for this, which is a lot better for socializing and also for exchanging knowledge and collaborating and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, they're cozy. I went to Assembly for the first time this year, and even if the whole party itself is not as cozy as the smaller parties, this year there was a very cozy sort of corner. The scene lounge.
I heard good things about the new scene lounge in Assembly, but I haven't been there in the last few years.
It's pretty
so.
cozy, actually. It's like
Even more cozy than the Assembly Hills.
I wouldn't call that cozy. I don't know.
Actually, I would. Yeah.
Go on.
I would like to say one thing about this scene that you saw on the screen, because it had nice, very like curves on the particle stuff that was on the screen, but the camera was like so I was somehow able to code the particle stuff to move smoothly, but the camera is something I forgot to which in the end makes most of the visual experience how you move the camera. I think the adapt style has always had a bit hectic camera movements.
Do you always hardcode stuff, or do you use like a tool to do like camera placements and camera relation movements?
Yeah, in this demo it was all hard-coded without use of any tool.
Okay.
So every time a modification had to be was done on the timeline, a new build was done, which is quite hardcore.
Yeah, especially when you start having a heavy engine, it really takes a long time to see changes and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you change your process since then, or is it still similar?
Yeah, many times. So, I think after this balance demo, there was Assembly 2007. We had the Inner Flame. You don't have to show it now, but there I made a tool and own scripting language where you could flexibly write any kind of equations that are then resolved as the movements.
Improving the quality of life for the developers.
Yeah, then I made this kind of flow diagram or a diagram based editor to edit the modifications of the parameters, but it actually became too complex to manage.
It's like a node graph thing.
Yeah, here is 4K from Assembly 2010 already.
I didn't know this was 4K.
Bubbling under.
Yeah.
You got third place with it.
Yeah. So there is
it's awesome for 4K.
There are CPU particles, and then the music is synthesized on a GPU.
How are the spheres drawn? Like, how does it work?
Well, they are depth-sorted particles, and they have different drawing modes. Basically, the glass ball or the noise sphere.
Is it shaders? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very eerie.
How do you sort them?
It's a CPU sorting here. It's only like 20 or 30,000 particles in here.
Cool.
It was running on a very crappy laptop, which is nice. In here, I think the only like developer friendliness was that the intro had a rewind option.
Ooh, that's big.
Yeah. And I remember that there was 400 bytes to fight out. We like one day before the assembly deadline. It was like the timeline, everything was fine, but there was 400 bytes too much.
So what did you do? Did you remove stuff?
Well, I once again stayed without sleeping the whole night, and just 10 bytes at a time, roughly.
The worst is the last 20 bytes to me. Those that fuckers don't wanna go away. And
When you already did everything you possibly could.
yeah, then it becomes art. Not you are looking for magic and coincidences. You start moving things around until something reorganizes differently, and the compressor can eat those 20 bytes. It's very stressful because you already removed everything, and yeah.
This intro was also using Crinkler, so without Crinkler, I probably would have had.
Oh yeah,
lots
I mean,
of trouble.
without them, the 4K scene wouldn't exist as it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really been awesome, and they still keep evolving the quality of Crinkler, still finding extra bytes here and there. Anyway, the entry we're watching now is the Reflection. It was released in 2013. It got second place. You're like, whoa, we're climbing the ladder on assembly. We're getting second place.
Yeah, it was the first. I think the year before Adapt demo was like the second last or something. It was a hurried production anyway, but for so many years, 2011, 2009, 2008, 2006, we have been making, or I have been making demos with some friends, and this was like this was the first demo I was very happy about.
How do you find your style? Because Adapt has this very unique style. You know it's an Adapt demo. We might not remember what the hell we just watched at the end. It's one of the main criticism I have of Adapt demo. It's not very memorable. It's always like particles and reflections and water.
I wanted to play with screen space reflections. I wanted to play with infinite zooming. I wanted to play with blending particles together, and that's what happened.
Is this zoom-in? No, it's...
It
is zoom-in, right? Yeah.
It kind of breaks the illusion a bit, because there are those other components that don't move anywhere. It's the infinite zooming thing. Muffin.
Is this the one where you have like the grids are also zooming in?
That was the other one.
That was the other one.
4 years later, there I did it properly.
That was
a bit better.
Yeah, you really went all the way with that one.
Yeah,
it's really awesome.
Here you see it a bit.
Yeah, this stuff. Yeah,
a bit more. Yeah, it was a fight to get it into a decent shape, as you see now. I think it was a fight from Thursday to Saturday, and me and Legend were doing it at the party place. I think it was a Friday morning, 7 a.m. There was 5 seconds of the timeline done.
No way.
But
This is pretty cool.
So somehow we managed to put it up together in a pretty coherent way.
So
I had lots of
what's your
test
process?
scenes and
How do you start a demo? I know you said at some place, I think it was on the assembly post-compose studio, you said that you usually start with the music itself.
Yeah.
So just find the music and try to figure out some visuals that might fit into it. Do you always like try to get the perfect visuals that you imagine, or do you try to, try things out and see what works and go with the flow?
I think like with this demo there was some proof of concept tests of the effects and visuals, and then the music was made around those, and then we gathered them, like I said, a bit too late. The deadline was at 8 p.m. I think, and at 7 a.m. we had the 5 seconds of the timeline. But what helped us a lot here was that with this demo, as with the couple of earlier demos, we used the GNU, the Kusma's rocket.
No rocket.
Kusma and Scrapple, if I don't remember wrong. But anyway, we are still using rocket. We are still stuck with the MFC rocket. unfortunately, because 5 years ago we started making our own improvements to it, and then a couple of years ago Kusma released the Qt-based Rocket.
Have you heard of Rocket IQ?
I used it once for Elevated, 2009. I don't know how it has evolved since then.
I had no idea you used it for Elevated, actually. I didn't know it was that old. Okay.
Yeah,
it's true. But there have been some changes to it. Not mostly on the core of Rocket, but like more platforms supporting it and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's the small editor that Kusma made, which looks like a tracker, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we used it in Elevated. Mentor mentioned it to me. I didn't know about it, and yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this here is the last year's 64K. It was under work for 8 years. I maybe spent a couple of weeks on it anyway throughout the years. So maybe the most time was spent last year's summer.
But did you like already had the idea and the music, and you couldn't quite finish the visuals, or you couldn't fit it into 64K?
Yeah, the music was already done. I think 7 years ago. It's pretty much the same song, and the thing is that we used sample-based tracker song here. I had to do a couple of tricks to compress the samples last year summer, but I'm almost a bit proud of in this intro is that everything you see, in addition to the particles, it's one vertex shader. All the geometries are generated with one vertex shader.
Huh, interesting. Yeah. What kind of input to that do you have? Like
a big vertex buffer.
But how does the topology work? Is it a triangle strip or a triangle?
It's just every 3 vertices make one triangle.
Okay, so a triangle list.
Yeah. No list. It's just.
Yeah, but okay, but the topology is just individual triangles.
Yeah.
So the index buffer is just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. It's actually it's DirectX 9, so even without the index buffer would be better. I think I had to do something like that. Yeah. So I think this 64K became like 10 times better than it was in 2011. It was not released back then because the 64K competition was cancelled. There was only 2 entries from our and the Fairlight.
So you saved it until Assembly got the 64K compo back.
Yeah.
Release it. Why don't you have like more models in your demos? Why is it always like particles and abstract shapes? Do you have like a reason for that, or is it's just how you work?
We could have more models. We like it's especially in the demos. But it's about just to this latest demo is a good example of not too many models.
This is the one from
yeah. It's not too easy to put models into the demos. When you start going that way, then you have to have a decent idea between or what you are putting there.
Who's the main designer in the demos? Is it you, or is it like a collaborative thing between different people?
At least what we try to do is bounce forth and back the visuals between different people. Mistral, Legend, we are pretty active on the visual side. I'm still trying to get our toolset to the level which enables others to.
Yeah, but then you don't have the fun.
The effort. Yeah.
So
Sorry.
If you do that, then others will have the fun designing it. So.
Yeah, I hope to have a situation where everybody can have have the fun together. And
Okay.
for example, one of the ideas that we have is that we could have a collaborative demo editing, somehow online, keep it in sync. It would also make our process of working much more simpler.
There aren't that many tools that allows you to edit stuff collaboratively, like multiple people working on the same thing. Even for game engines, that's not very common to exist.
We have been thinking about it quite a lot, because especially when doing a demo under a heavy deadline pressure.
Yeah, it would be a lot better if everyone could see what they're doing at the same time and just tweak things.
Things go out of sync, so me and Mistral, there is a joke between us that we should have the multiplayer rocket fighter, where each of us has their own cursor in the rocket, and we can see the demo at the same time. And
I was gonna say that's an extreme, like the Google Docs model where you have two cursors. That's ideal, but it's very difficult to do. But you don't need to go to that extreme. You can still chunk the demo in sequences or in shots and still work collaboratively, right?
Yeah.
If the whole thing is not monolithic, you can still split it and work in parallel.
Yeah.
But
I think we are going to improve on the model side, and we have at least 3 talented 3D modelers in the group. So
I saw credits to Feller here. He used to be in Half Beat Cheese, right?
Yeah. You can see Feller's models in quite many demos of us. Like one is the Liquiction, the demo man. The sheep in this demo is from Feller.
Okay.
The sheep?
The sheep which was in the beginning.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really nice. Congratulations on winning assembly. Was it your first assembly win?
2 years ago it was the first one.
Yeah, I thought you had already one win. Yeah. So yeah. It's really cool to see like groups starting, like the first party being assembly. I want to be there, be number 1, and they do work every single year, just slowly improving, changing stuff until they finally start reaching the maturity. How many years after? 10 years? Well, the first one, if your first assembly was 93, it was shit, I can't do math. 16 years ago? Something like that?
More.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't do
I got confused. 94 was the 93. I heard about assembly. 94 I went to assembly, and ever since there. But 2017 won assembly, and
so like over 25 years ago. So at least 25 years of evolution, of going to assembly every single year, or almost every single year to do new production. That's like amazing.
What happened this year is that me and Preacher, we were talking that, okay, let's make a cooperation with Adapt and Traction. Go because we were both coding in 90s. And we actually, with Adapt, we had a old school demo 2 years ago, and now there was a will to do another one this year. Go and challenge the pie drapers.
What's the definition of old school DOS demos? Is it like a 486 or a Pentium, or what is the?
I think it's a Pentium 133, I believe.
Yeah.
Pentium what? Sorry.
133. 133.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they allow also Amiga, Atari, and Commodore 64 there. So it's like a wild compo, but for old school software, old school hardware only.
There's some kind of like year-based cutoff, I think they use for.
Yeah, something like that. I think it's around the 90s or end of the 90s, like 98, something like that.
Yeah, some kind of like a computer that was released before 98 or something.
Or 97.
The Pentium 133 is from 92 or 93. It's old.
So
Pentium? No, I think the Pentium is later than that.
Yeah, I think so.
I have no idea.
Before that, because I had a 486 in 97, So
yeah, maybe it became a bit more popular in 95, 96.
Yeah.
But anyway, about this demo, I can say that if you plan releasing 2 demos at the party and they are not finished,
That's a bad
the
idea
party
usually. Yeah.
starts, it's difficult.
Unless someone else is taking care of it, then that's fine.
Yeah. With this thing, there was 3,500 triangles originally, but had to reduce it. I think there's like 1,500 triangles in this, what ended up.
So, why DOS? Why did you decide to go back to DOS? You like going back down and trying to optimize stuff in assembler, or you were just sick of doing shaders? What was the reason
I think
behind
it's a nice change. It's a different thing to do.
Did you mostly code in C++ or?
Yeah, this uses what I started coding graphics mostly. Well, I started with Turbo Pascal and then with Watcom in the 90s. But it's somehow nice to go back into doing the stuff. I don't know.
Okay. We have seen a lot more people doing demos for DOS again, curiously enough. Yeah. And it feels like it was the same when the Commodore 64 sort of seemed like it died, and then a lot of people started doing demos for it again. And the same thing with Amiga. It seemed like it completely died, and then some people pick it up again, and then there are new parties and new compos, and people get interested again in the old computer, like, because they like those fixed settings, and there was missing that sort of thing for the MS-DOS, and nowadays there seems to be a lot more compos and people doing stuff for DOS, not just 128 bytes and 556 byte stuff, but also like demos like this one. Which, I don't know, 4 years ago, if you would say you were going to do a DOS demo, people would be like, why have Windows stuff? Why are you bothering doing a DOS demo? But it's nostalgic reasons, I guess. And it's cool, I think it's cool. I don't have my DOS machine running, but maybe I should try to get it running again.
It probably also gives some different point of view to optimization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if in case there's any help to modern productions optimization.
I think like learning like x86 assembly or something gives you a better idea of what's actually happening when you write something in C or C++ and compile it. You got a better idea of what you're actually doing with the computer, I think.
Yeah.
Alchemy in the chat that says that it's just good to do a polyfiller and clipping once in his life. Like,
yeah,
you need to learn how to do it with software.
Yeah.
I agree.
Exactly.
Did you make this one in an actual Pentium computer, or you have DOS box or something?
No, I was trying to get one, but it's we have a couple of processors, but that's it. So I don't have an actual. I had Pentium 120 megahertz in 90s, but not anymore. I did it with DOSBox in 45,000 cycles.
Was it recorded from a real machine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did it work on the real machine first time?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw it at the party place.
Oh,
yeah.
risky.
But it worked, and it was actually a bit faster than with DOSBox. So.
Nice, very nice.
Here's another demo that was also released at Assembly on the old school demo platform. It was by Rust Bloom. It's called Pio Pio. And it uses like high resolution.
Blue noise.
Not mode 13H. It looks pretty good.
Which platform is this again?
MS-DOS, the Pentium 123.
Yeah, what makes it quite different with that Pentium is that there's no MMX, there's no...
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you have the FPU, which you didn't have in the 486.
Yeah. If you have the skills to code for it.
Yeah, with a stack.
Yeah, I actually did to our Pentium demo. I just did fixed point match. I saw that it's faster than try to play with floats. Maybe with the
Nobody's saying on the chat that the 486 did have an FPU, but it was just very, very slow.
Is that still the x87?
I don't know.
Sorry?
Is that still the x87? I think it's called the FPU.
Yeah, 8087. Yeah, I think so.
80. Okay. I just started kind of learning about this stuff properly because I tried to.
In the 386, you could buy the FPU. I think it was a separate chip, and you could plug it. You had a socket in the motherboard, and then you had floating-point acceleration instead of software point.
Mind blowing.
Yeah,
but then no one else had it, so it was like useless. So how you can do stuff? It works on your machine, but it doesn't work on everyone else's.
No, I think it would be emulated in software or something. I don't know.
Slow like hell.
I don't know.
Because I know like the first Quake was like the first mainstream game to require an FPU or something like that to actually run. I never knew how that worked. Like, did you have to upgrade your whole computer?
Okay. I was thinking Doom. Doom didn't require anything, but Quake required some sort of because you used floating point stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah, the 386 and 486. So I did my first FPU programming, like assembler, like float, st0, and all those things in the Pentium, I think. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know how it was before that. Yeah.
And Pentium had MMX already, right?
Pentium 3?
Oh, 3.
Yeah, not the 133. But if I remember well, the MMX registers were shared. They were the same actual hardware than the FPU registers, so you couldn't do both at the same time, right?
Yeah, there's a special instruction to clear the state, so you can use the use it as a floating stack again.
That's right.
Yeah, nobody's saying on the chat there was the 8387, which was the FPU, where the x87 name comes from. 486 was the first x86 CPU with integrated FPU, which makes sense why it was so popular. And late Pentium models had MMX, Pentium 2 and Pentium 3 all had MMX. Yeah, I had a Pentium 2, I believe, and it had inbuilt MMX. Makes sense. And Alchema says that they overlap. I don't know what he's referring to again anymore.
Probably the thing that IQ just said about
probably
shared registers.
This demo that you're watching now was the second place on the demo compo, Hibernate by Pyrotech.
Yeah, and it almost closes the circle nicely, because as I mentioned, the effect coder of this demo did the 64K roster with me. So
it's like 20 years later, two guys that were working together on an entry get first and second place at assembly.
Yeah.
They should make like a documentary just about assembly and all the... I mean, there's so much to say, so much history already. It would be great to have like a documentary going through the years and some selected people and how the experience of assembly changed them and how they were changed by assembly. I think it would be a really cool documentary.
Yeah, assembly is a really big thing, and I actually heard just a small factoid that in Finnish law, there's something specific about assembly, the party. It's mentioned by name that that the prizes are tax-free. There's a special clause in Finnish law about that.
That's the true law for the people. The people make the law.
I think where assembly does good stuff, they have this game development competition, for example, each year. It tries to make a link between the gamers and the demo scene. And then there was also this year, like many years before, the demo workshop for new people who want to learn to make demos.
And the one scene compo was also a very good idea. Like a compo that's friendly for new people, can just make one effect, put music on it, plays for 60 seconds. And I really like the concept. I think we're going to do that at the Inertia this year, because it really incentivizes both the people who are like old farts that feel like they don't want to do a very big demo. They can just do like one effect demo, 60 seconds, that's it. It doesn't take a lot of work, and then for new people, it's also a nice way to get into the demo scene. So I really think that combo has a lot of potential to really be used on other parties. Not sure if Assembly was the first one to do it. Probably not. I think Graphaton had similar, and some Polish parties had one effect combo as well. I think Riverwash had it. So definitely not Assembly being the first, but it's really cool that it's like at a very big venue like Assembly. It's cool that it has it, and it might make sense for parties like Revision to also have that sort of thing, or The Gathering, for example, if they want to revitalize the combos there, or even Euskal, like a very big party with a lot of people who might not be skilled in doing demos. It would be nice to have a combo that is more newbie friendly for them to try to do something for.
I wanted to show the noise ball, which is somehow rotating from the inside out, because I think that's a good example of a good effect from the Pyrotech demo. I think they have quite a lot of potential. It makes it probably a bit difficult for people to know what they have done themselves and what comes from the engine.
Is it Unreal?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but I mean the using of that engine, for example. Well, I don't know if people even know that, but we have always had our own engine in which is a good or bad choice, I don't know. At least that's one of the reasons I want to continue making demos is because at work I cannot always choose what I can do, but when I'm doing my demo stuff and my demo system, I can do whatever I want and also experiment with stuff. But on the other hand, there is the collaborative approach that I try to do stuff which makes people, enables people to work.
And I mean, it works for you well because you're the coder, but if you were the artist, it makes a lot more sense to use these tools. Like the demo that we're watching now was made by Yugi using Unity, and it makes sense for him to use because he doesn't want to develop an engine, he just wants to do creative stuff with an engine. So it really depends on the group and how the dynamics of the whole group, how it works, in my opinion.
Actually, now when you say it, I just realized that the assembly was a competition of own engine, Unreal, and Unity.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure. I'm not sure if there was a Notch demo in there this year. Probably not, since CNCD
No, there
couldn't
was
do
no Notch
anything.
demos this year.
Yeah, Fizzer, you work for Notch, so you should
Yep.
know.
Yeah,
This
they
demo
were.
is really cool. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I already knew before the party that there was not gonna be any. Yeah.
No one was
useful.
asking for help with you developing stuff.
yeah,
I felt like I should have made one myself, but oh well. Next year we'll be back.
so Fizzer, have you been using some other demo systems or creating your own? You have pretty long past in making demos anyway.
Well, not as long as you. I started in 2013, I think it was. But I've never really made an engine. Okay, yeah, I did try to make a game engine when I was much younger, but I didn't really get very far with it. I didn't make any demos with it. All the demos I've made have been pretty much custom made or using like.
Fizzer, did you actually do a demo, or have you only done intros so far?
No, I've done full-size demos too.
Okay.
I haven't done one for a while because I sort of switched to just doing
Intro stuff.
4Ks and 8Ks.
You see, to me, it seems like you're more interested in testing rendering ways, and that fits a lot more into the 4K and 8K than for demo stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing that I like to do on like Shader Toy, for example. I guess that's like my favorite thing. And making an intro, you can make something that's got maybe like, yeah, it's more like an animation or something with a story, and you can have some music and you can make a nice presentation out of it. So I really like doing that. And you can show it to an audience and maybe you win something as well.
Yeah. Let me just say what we're watching now. We're watching Region de Magallanes, which is a really weird thing to say. I guess it's Spanish. Región de Magallanes by Femia. Yeah, and he got 4th place on the combo. So go on deeper. What were you saying?
One of the demos, which maybe then are one of the first demos that you fizzer made, is the Blitzgewitter.
Yeah, that's right. I made that with Sunspire and D-Star. We're not quite in contact with D-Star anymore. I don't know where he is, but he's a really good artist. And that was like the first proper PC demo that I made in collaboration with other people. And it was an invitation to the Nordlicht party, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This one that we're watching now is The End of Iceland by Lucid. Is this still a demo, or is this... let me open the results.
I was just like saying earlier about engines that I didn't really have an engine, but I had bits of code that I reused and sort of custom library bits and pieces that I could put together and reuse, as opposed to making a full-fledged engine like Unreal or something.
So this one that we're watching now is the 3rd place 4K entry, so it's also 4K. This got 3rd place. Fizzer got 2nd with the demo that we already, or the intro that we already saw. So we're not gonna play this again. And Storm Riders got 1st place on the PC 4K compo. So it's okay. It's pretty good. And there are some things that look a bit unrealistic that kind of break the mood, but overall it looks pretty nice.
The dragon thing looks kind of cool. I think like if the tail animation was a bit more natural. It would be really cool, actually.
And then it's
there are definitely good looking components in this work. I think I have seen the group before.
Yeah, Lucid. I think I've seen some stuff from them as well.
Quite many times, yes.
Yeah, they're from 2007 originally. So long time assembly entries.
Long term 4K creator. Yeah. Yeah, they had 2 years ago at Assembly the 4K intro called Main, which is like a cubey surface made out of cubes and then a hand coming from the. So this is not their first try on a character animation. The dragon tail. But I think the hand was quite cool experience.
I'm gonna skip to the 1K compo just because it's been running late already. And I have 4 entries from the 1K compo to show. The first one is Outer M2 by Poi of Ribbon, which is really cool. Also had sound.
Yeah, this was cool.
Interesting thing about the 1K compo is that you see a lot of JavaScript stuff just to take more full advantage of not having to put that extra layer of rendering engine things, boilerplate, let's call it. So
yeah, and you have WebGL, of course.
So so it kind of compresses better.
You can just
Poi has done some native canvas as well, but I think this one is WebGL, yeah. I mean, it could also be native canvas and just be particles with fake shadows on the bottom.
That's true, yeah. It probably is actually.
I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember sitting next to Pete01 in Assembly 2006. I was party coding for 50 hours and he was there.
Yeah, these are sprites because you can't see them fighting for depth.
Yeah.
And I think he was back then, 13 years ago, already working at the Opera or something with it.
I don't think he's working on Opera anymore, but yeah, he was working for browser stuff. We had him on the show at some point, I believe.
Didn't he win multiple of those JavaScript 1K?
Yeah. He's a master in JavaScript JS1K stuff.
G.00004.
This one used the speech synth, clearly from the computer, but I mean, if you can use it, why not use it? It's funny that it's actually listing the code.
1,0 slash r dot b b equals texture 2d ea vec2.
Yeah, I had
0 slash r dot
internal
b
detail
o
about
equals
this,
texture
that
2d
it was supposed to
EA
read
plus
only
vec2.
part, but there was
0,
no
1
space.
slash r dot a f equals texture 2d ea vec2 0, 1 slash r dot a s equals texture 2d.
Yeah, 1K
EA
is extremely
if
challenging
r
to
dot r
get.
equals 0
Yeah.
s equals
Now,
vec4.
1K is the new
S dot
4K.
A
You
plus
can have
min
an effect in it, maybe
0,
some
1,
music, but it's really hard to have like a narrative on
S
it.
dot A plus min I.002.1 S dot B1 if r dot r equals 1.
The problem with 1K
S
is
dot
that
B equals G
like
dot B
you have to
plus B dot
sacrifice and
B
do so many
plus O dot
tricks
B plus F dot
that
B G
often
dot
they
R
don't
B
work
dot R
right in your
plus O dot
PC.
G
You
F
have to
dot
actually
G.
like 4Ks you can make them more
Point
robust
25
when you
if
initialize your
r
window
dot r
and
equals
go
2.
full screen and all
S
those
dot
things you can't do
RG
it
equals
properly in
vec 2.
4K.
G
But
dot
in
B
1K
dot
you just
B O
hack
dot B F dot
everything,
B.
including
Point
opening
5
the window,
if
and sometimes it
r
won't
dot
work.
r equals
Yeah.
equals 3. S dot RGA equals texture 2D. EAS dot RG slash R dot
Texture
GA
2D.
dot RGA A equals 0.5.
That's old OpenGL, by the
A
way.
dot G
Yeah,
dot
I was
G
thinking of myself during the compo.
0.247.
I was
If
like, does that still work?
0.01 mod
Yeah.
at A dot R A
Because
dot G
if you don't put
plus
the
sin I
what is
point
it
2
like a
The
version,
version,
pound
yeah,
version.
100 slash I S dot G equals mod I1
This is also in
sin I
JavaScript.
sin I
Oh,
Anyways, moving on. Tech Power Ride by Digimind. This one was pretty nice. Still just
yeah, I like this.
ray marching stuff. I think it's Windows though, not JavaScript. I could be wrong. Let me check. It says Windows. That's clearly just
Yeah,
like
it's,
one shader.
It's like pushing data to the MIDI ports, I think. So that's gonna be compiled.
I think it's well done because I remember the Digimind 4Ks look similar, and now they've been able to put the same style in 1K.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, Digimind has been doing a lot of size coding stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, some really awesome stuff.
And it's one of the biggest compos at assembly. Like the 1K and 4K compos at assembly always seem to have good quality stuff. Well, the 4K sometimes doesn't have that many entries, but the 1K compo is always absolutely brutal. The number, the quantity and the quality of the productions is always insane.
I could actually go a bit back because I just realized that the Rippon's 1K that became 4th was using some kind of particle stuff, so it was different from the HPC fluid stuff. So it's nice to see variation in the effects. It's not only ray marching and ray marching.
And this one was the winner, searching for the silver lining by Fulcrum.
Music is obviously MIDI. I'm not sure if you can fit anything else than MIDI.
Yeah. If you're using JavaScript, you can do that bytecode kind of wobbly sounds, but in C, I think you need a bigger boilerplate to start on the sound buffer, so it ends up not really being worth it. It's easier to just play MIDI. Looks pretty nice. It's standard clouds, nothing really overwhelming, but it fit well. And what we're watching now is 60 Seconds to Go by Alcatraz.
Was that 1K as well?
No.
This is from the one scene compo, is it?
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah.
Oh, I see the 60 seconds thing. Okay.
Yeah, 3rd place on the one scene compo. Looks bloody great.
Yeah.
I think this was made with cables .gl. It's a new like web-based node graph editor thing.
Novi is confirming that was made with Cable Shield.
Right.
And Slurpee as well. Okay, it was rather good. 60 seconds. That's all you need. I don't know why I did said that. Clearly, I linked the wrong file, but it should be playing the right thing. I hope. Did I fuck up? I wanted to play EFX by Epoch. I'm not sure if it's this one, because I didn't see the one effect combo. Might be. It might not. Looks alright. I mean, it's just meta balls. Not even meta balls, because it's 2D. Meta circles?
Meta hyperspheres.
Some black holes? Let's just hang out. Another one scene compo is NSYNC. And this one won the compo. NSYNC by Supa Dupa.
Ooh, nice.
And music by Novi.
How did they make the music? Is it Forklang?
No, this is the one scene combo.
Oh yeah, okay. So you can put whatever you want to play the music.
It's like the PC demo combo, but
Yeah.
you're restricted to one scene.
I was confused with the categories. I think we have a little too many categories for coders, in my humble opinion, but they do serve different purposes, so it's a bit...
It's also limited to 1 minute length.
1 minute, yeah. True.
Yeah, 60 seconds.
I think the idea of this combo is to get more new people involved.
Yeah.
Because it's not so daunting to make, to compete with.
Yeah, it's what we were saying earlier. It's an extra category that's both friendly for newbies and also easy for old timers to just do something without having to commit to like this very huge project. So it makes sense, but in the end we have a 1K compo, we have 4K compo, we have the one scene compo, we have the 64K compo, we have the demo compo. I mean, it's like 5 compos.
And also, like, you can always make a 60 seconds demo and put it on the demo competition.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's fine.
But then they will look a bit...
no colors competition for people who don't have design skills and don't want to put colors, and they don't have to compete with people who can put colors.
Yeah,
I'm ranting a bit here, but
there was some parties that were like they had like a beginners compo and an old schoolers compo. Like the beginners compo was for people who were making their first demo ever, and the old schoolers compo was like for people who already made a demo before and they sort of know what they're doing. So it's differently evaluated. I like the concept of the one scene compo. I just think that assembly has too many code-based compos, in my humble opinion. But I mean,
well, it has like 4 or 5 music compos. So
I think it's only 2. It's the listening music compo and the dancing music compo. So
no, there are more, I think, right?
I think you're wrong, but you were there, so I don't know.
Fast music.
Fast music.
Oh, fast music. Okay.
then something. I lost it.
Tracking compo as well. So
That's
yeah, you're right.
music,
okay. So yeah. Okay. 4 music compos.
Okay.
Yeah. In addition, there was the first time the shader showdown.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But the shader showdown, I can understand that they want to have it, and it makes sense for me because it's a different sort of format. Yeah. But I think, like, for example, the one scene might fight a lot against the 64K compo, for example. And this year we didn't have that many entries on the 64K compo again, because there are like so many competitions that you have to focus on as a developer that you end up not having time to work on stuff for all of them. Like deepr was saying earlier, it's hard to do like an old school demo and a modern demo at the same time. And we don't have that many developers attending assembly, in my humble opinion. I could be wrong. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with. But
you mean coders, like scene coders?
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of scene coders, obviously, but do they have time to commit themselves to multiple projects for assembly instead of just one?
I guess the average long-time assembly goer has a family now. Probably.
As well. I don't think that's the main issue, but I mean, life just happens. It happens naturally everywhere. So I don't know. It's a complicated issue. Anyways, we're reaching the end of our show. I don't know, do you guys want to see anything else in particular? I didn't want to go over the old school demos that much because I wanted to do a specific show focusing on the old school stuff that has been released, not just at Assembly, but also Datastorm and other, like Nova had a lot of old school platform releases as well, and I wanted to focus a little bit more on that. Any last thoughts? I guess I'll start with you, Fizzer. Do you anything else you want to? Any parties you're attending next? What's your plan for world domination?
I have no idea. Like I wasn't even intending to make another 4K after the last one, the previous one at revision this year.
You're living one day at a time.
Yeah, I mean, well, the one I made for assembly was just like something. I actually had the point-based thing working like a year ago or something. I just had the code lying around, and Nobi had a music track, and we just kind of put it together over 2 days, and we just had an entry. I don't know. I don't have a plan. I just see if I get inspired to make something, I guess.
That's a good, nice way as anything to go about life. What about you, IQ? What's up? I know you have this stream coming up next week where you're gonna show how you made that animation thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't know how it will go. It's the first time I do something like this, and so I will do live coding, improv kind of streams as well. But I wanted to start with deconstructing this one and going through the process and so on. So yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully people see it and ask questions. And
are you gonna stream it only on YouTube, or are you gonna also stream it on Twitch? Because most people who do shader coding streaming stuff usually do it on Twitch. But
that's right. I was debating with myself which one to use. I went with YouTube. It's a bit more.
You can do both. If you use stuff like Restream.io, sends to both platforms at the same time. I'm using it now, so I can give you the link. It might be interesting for you.
Yes. All right. Good. Yeah, but I want to do other videos as well, less deep diving and less technical, but still speaking about. I still want to speak about using mathematics to create images, and those, because they are going to be less technical, they will be better for a more general audience. And I was thinking YouTube maybe is more mainstream.
Yeah, definitely. For archive, I suggest YouTube. For live streaming on the moment, I would suggest both platforms, because on YouTube you already have the crowd. So I think it works. But yeah, you were saying about those videos teaching mathematics. You had like a series of them at some point, and then you sort of got caught up with work and stopped working on them very actively. So you want to do more of those basic tutorials on how to do basic. That's the plan.
Yeah, and I left my job recently to do this. So hopefully it goes okay. We'll see how it goes.
I personally, as a fan, I would much rather see you doing graphic stuff and graphics tutorial stuff than watching you work for a big corporation that we don't see the result of. I mean, I've seen you sometimes doing the video. I saw that stuff that you did, like the painting tool. That looked pretty sick. Like it thought like it had a lot of potential, but I want to see you making graphics as well.
Yeah, I know. I haven't done graphics for 3 or 4 years, but both things help. I think you can do the grassroots, inspiring newcomers to do their own thing with kind of demo things and videos in YouTube, and then you can do the top-down approach where I was trying to convince the industry animation studios to go into VR and real-time graphics. So you can do both, and at some point they might merge. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm switching back and forth, so now I'm back to.
That's a good technique. I think I like your approach. Okay, anything else you would like to add?
No, I hope I can go to some demo party, but again, family and distance.
At Revision, they have a corner that takes care of kids, and they change the roles a little bit. So there's so many seniors with kids that they have like a special kindergarten section for kids.
Okay.
And they have special headphones to make sure they don't have their ears hurt. There's all sorts of tricks.
I've seen a lot of kids at parties now, actually, with these
Yeah.
special headphones.
And there are a lot of. It's very interesting. There are a lot of kids that are now starting to become the age that they start being creative and they start making demos. Like we have some demos made by kids on the Pico 8, and recently at VIP2, we had a demo by two seniors that I think it's 12, 14, something like that, and they were actually coding in OpenGL stuff, which was really cool. So actually, I can show that demo while we're waiting, because I had it queued. I think it's what is it? New Order? Yeah, this one.
That makes sense to have a competition for, pre-18 demos.
I mean, it's the beginner's compo. It's still, and I mean, this would be a good category for the one scene compo. But it has been done before with other people doing, especially Pico 8. Pico 8 is a very newbie-friendly, kid-friendly platform. So you can really do interesting stuff. A teen compo, you can only participate if you're younger than 16 years old.
I think it should be 18 in drinking age. If you can't drink, you go to the big screen.
There should be a stick, like they have it like fairgrounds. If you're taller than this stick, then
Maybe the amusement park.
yeah, exactly.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not bad.
There it is.
Is it like C++ or processing or Unreal, or do we know?
It's OpenGL, so I think it's C++ with OpenGL stuff.
Wow.
I'm not sure if they use a graphical tool or something to make it, but I heard Nitrix say that it was OpenGL, so I'm pretty sure there was some actual coding involved.
Maybe immediate mode, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways, we're reaching the end of the show. deepr, do you have anything you would like to tell us? What's your plan for world domination? What's your next demo party? Your next production?
Adapt is going to continue adapting, so we develop the system further, and maybe someday have a demo ready when the demo party starts.
Okay, cool. Are there any other Finnish demo parties coming up?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of parties in the winter time, but probably our main focus is going to be the revision next year.
Okay, will be cool to see you then again. On my part, I wanted to announce you guys that 1-3 of November in Almada, in Portugal, we will be having an Inertia demo party. This is a great opportunity to buy your flights because they're still cheap. So if you want to come enjoy the Portuguese demo scene, it's not very big, but we're friendly. So come on down to Almada, which is on the other side of the river from Lisbon. So good opportunity to sightsee. And it's November, so it might rain, but it's still better weather than whatever else you have in Europe. So that's always a plus point. So yeah, don't forget to come to Inertia Demo Party 2005 in 2019. Thank you guys for joining. Fizzer, IQ, deepr. It was a great pleasure, great show. Thank you guys for joining up.
Thank you.
Also, thanks everybody on the chat that was commentating and watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the show as much as I did. And last but not least, thanks to the Patreon supporters: Garfield, Jeff Thornborough, Paul Jump, Upgate, El Topo, Fulcrum, Paul Falcão, Get It Wessendorf, Trickster, Evil, Gaspod, Branch, and VZ. Thanks so much for your support. You help motivate me to keep organizing these little live streams. Hope you guys are enjoying it. So see you next time. Bye bye everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.